So we're going to play a 20-minute game. It's going to be 10 2-minute moves. And to manage the amount of information that is going to be flowing inside of that space, we're going to be using notes. So as we're listening to each other, we're going to be noting down various components of the conversation so we can try and get as many interconnection points as possible without losing some of the richness which is just flowing by.
In a decaying society, art, if it is to be truthful, must reflect that decay. Unless it is to abandon its social function, art must portray the world as changeable and seek to change it. Those are not words here from here. This is a quote, a slightly mangled one, but nevertheless raises three very interesting notions. Firstly, what is the function of art in society? Secondly, it disconnects art from beauty. I mean, if art is to be truthful, it is not necessarily going to be beautiful. And I think in the minds of many people, art and beauty are profoundly connected to each other. And so art has an ability to communicate on a level beyond and underneath language. Language takes things and puts them into little boxes and then puts those boxes in a sequence. Art is able to deliver in a much more complete and direct way. And so the function of art in society is to do that which the other things in society cannot do. For example, science and analysis and logic can only work through things in a sequential manner. Art can present the whole thing at once. Art, or artists more specifically, are an early warning system to the decay of a society. One of the most sure signs of a flourishing society is a burgeoning and thriving art scene.
Art as reflection, as a reflective surface, a mirror we create, putting as much of ourselves onto the surface so others can peer into it and see the cosmos reflected. The goal of art, to create the ultimate masterpiece, the masterpiece in which all of being is contained in one point, and one could swallow it like a pill. One could look at it like the Gorgon's gaze and be transfigurated instantaneously into the full knowledge of all of being. Art reveals the world as malleable. We can transform matter, and by transforming matter, we can transform mind. We can use language to transform minds. This linear flow. But we can also use other materials that have a non-linear grammar. We can create interconnections of points, put them on a canvas, arrange them in the right way, arrange these different dimensions in the right way, and they resonate together. They become more than the sum of their parts. They become a unit in and of themselves that one can contemplate. You can contemplate art, contemplate the various sub-dimensions of the artwork, and then contemplate the whole, and flow in this back and forth process between contemplating the part and contemplating the totality.
Art as fractal, speaking to a variety, even an infinity of scales all at once, from the micro to the macro. That connection across scale, from, and not just across scale, but across domain, from the micro to the macro, but from the physical to the emotional to the spiritual to the divine. The ability of art to arch across all of these things simultaneously is unmatched by anything else. Art has the ability, the mirror thing. I mean, the mirror is a it's the boundary between awareness and mystery. That's the mirror. And so art is, navigating is the wrong word. Art is mapping, no, not defining, feeling what that mirror is, and using that to reveal, using that to elevate, using that to redeem, using that to examine and, if necessary, reorder one's perceptions of the world. Art brings us from one level of resolution to another, from the level of resolution of the minutiae of our daily lives. It allows us to step out of that into a grander, broader perspective, which then informs again the micro.
Art as a multi-level eye that sees at multiple levels of resolution simultaneously. Zoom in close enough and see the artistry of each individual pigment on the canvas. Zoom out far enough and see the canvas in the context of the totality of all being. Come close enough that you just have the canvas and the frame. Shifting the canvas into the frame, shifting the frame into the canvas, compressing the frame until one sees a tiny part of the canvas, increasing it until one sees the totality of the canvas, the great canvas of being. A great mirror, sometimes solid, sometimes liquid, sometimes transparent. To lose oneself in a work of art, to be so deeply plunged into the work that then one forgets oneself and one enters into connection with the artist, to see the artist beyond the art, to pass through the portal of the work and to see the artist. The imaginations we have of the artist. Who made this? The knowledge we have of the artist. How that transforms the artwork. The frame around the artwork, how delicately or grossly it has been carved. The invisible frames around all of our works, around all of our lives that we do not see, that we inhabit the work itself, but we forget our frames. How can we reclaim our frames?
Frame is something that we put around something to say this is where it ends. This is the limits of it. Art, it's strange in a way that so many works of art are put in frames, because art surely seeks to transcend the very notion of frames. It's the definition of what art is quite troublesome. Is art in the intent of the person producing the art, or is the art in the thing that is produced? There is surely some, both are true there. Is nature capable of producing art? Certainly nature is capable of producing beauty, but what is it that art is? Is it unique to human beings? When a beaver, when beavers make a dam, do they do so artistically? What if art is art is looking in the mirror of the mystery and finding something of value in that, which you then seek to express to the world? Is that uniquely human? Is any other creature capable of artistic endeavor?
The frame as a membrane, transframing process, art as skill, practice, process, art as communication, the process of art, the metabolism of art, perceiving the world, inhaling the world, exhaling part of the world, the research process of art, where one brings in as many different elements as possible, digests them into a new arrangement, novelty, a new arrangement that has never been seen. And in being seen for the first time, reawakens, parts the veil, the patina of dust on all things, that allows us to see it again as if for the first time. And then one sees the beauty once more. Art as the cure, as the wave to wash away the dust, to cleanse the doors of perception, and to see once more the world as it truly is, as even greater than any work of art, a pale imitation of the grandeur of nature, to look into the infinite mirror. The surface of the mirror, quiet like a pond, touch it with a finger.
Art is a pale imitation of nature. That's beautiful. And so art is an attempt, a humble and pointless and worthless attempt to do what nature does all the time. The perfection that is embodied in every aspect of nature is what art seeks to capture. And so the artist, when engaging in their art, is that, right? They are directly in touch somehow or another with the process of creation itself, directly grounded in being itself, endeavoring with the limitations and inadequacies that they're saddled with to capture that and bring it into static being, right? This is the point. It's essentially a photograph. It's endeavoring to bring into static, continuous being that which is only ever fleeting and instantaneous in the real world. God, it's an impossible and yet heroic endeavor to seek to do that, to touch the absolute essence of the mystery, grab a little thing of it, to hold on to it well enough, the frustration of knowing what it is that you've brought back with you, and the impossibility of ever really expressing that fully must be depressing at times.
Capture a grain of dust and shine it in the light. Static art and dynamic art. Moving images and static images. And yet even the longest movie ever is static in comparison with the dynamic nature of nature. Art as a sacred ritual of recreation, of recreating the cosmos in a microcosmos. Games as art. Games as art with many moving pieces. games as the artistic arrangement of systems that reflect the dynamic interrelations of nature. How can we create games that reflect our relationships between each other, between ourselves and the cosmos? How can we summon the cosmos down onto Earth in the forms of sacred games? To manifest a work of art, to concentrate, to pay attention to that tiny mote of dust that we hold for one moment in our fingers, to shine it under all spectra of light and darkness, so we can make it blossom.
Games as arts. There's the artful playing of games, as the artful design of games, which then, by being artfully played, reinforce the artfulness of the designer in the first place. Life itself as art. This is a long-standing notion of interest. The honing of your presence, or one's presence in the moment, to the point where everything one does as though it were a work of art. It's finding that balance and harmony and connection to, and finding peace in the doing of the thing, that you're doing it beautifully, you're designing it elegantly, you're balancing it gracefully. These things being incorporated into every moment of one's life. Everybody has that capacity to be an artist, even if they are not producing things which others admire. The notion of artistry is something which can be directly lived and experienced. The way one strokes a cat, understanding the nature of the cat, and the incredibly subtle feelings and interactions between the fur and the hand, understanding what the cat enjoys and doesn't enjoy, exactly what is. This is a form of artfulness. It's a complete presence of understanding, of attunement to, joy in, and love of the moment.
The art of building and breaking symmetry, of building greater and greater symmetries and breaking greater and greater symmetries, of nesting symmetries within broken symmetries within symmetries, creating dynamic symmetries between oneself and the world. The grip, the dynamic symmetry between the fingers and the thumb and the thing which is gripped, the point of attention. The tension in the mind, the modulation of the tension in the mind to grip perfectly that mote of the universe, that specific dot of the universe. And then to draw a line between two dots, and one more, and to draw a shape. And then one more, a horizon. Another shape, a star. A feeling, a memory. So many different dimensions of the same thing put together in a frame where the interrelationships bubble. Now this one comes to the surface, then this one, then this one, then this one. And then you can see all of the waves being created simultaneously, this great waving mirror. And then silence one more. Flatness. Take it in. let it go.